Hi, this is Diane Lovetobake, and what we're going to make is an apple coffee cake. And I find that the best two types of apples for this little cake are using the Granny Smith or the Johnathan. Now, of course, you can use whatever apple you have or whatever you prefer, but I've made, I've tried both of these, and they really have come out exceptionally well with this little coffee cake. So let's get started. What you're going to start off with is first using 2/3 of a cup of all-purpose flour. Now this recipe I think is a little bit healthier because we're going to be using whole wheat flour also. So you're going to be putting in 1/2 cup of whole wheat. And I'm just going to put that right on top of the all-purpose. You're going to be putting in 1 teaspoon of baking soda, 1 teaspoon of cinnamon, and you're also going to be putting in 1/4 of a teaspoon of salt. And then what you'll want to do is just go ahead and just stir that together, stir the dry together, and then we're going to just set it aside for the moment. Okay? Now, in a large bowl, what we're going to do is we're going to need to put our apples in, of course, and let me grab them. Okay, you're going to be putting in 1½ cups of, I peeled the apples and then I cut them into pieces. Now you don't want to cut them too small because they become mushy. You want it in the coffee cake that when you bite into a piece of coffee cake, maybe you can definitely bite into a nice piece of apple. So don't make them too thin, but on the other hand, you don't want to make them too thick as well. Okay, and that's 1½ cups of your Granny Smith, Johnathan, or whatever type of apple that you prefer, okay, in a bowl. The next thing that you're going to do is you're going to put in 1 egg. And then just mix the apples and the egg together, okay? You're also going to be needing granulated sugar. So you're going to be putting 3/4 of a cup of granulated sugar in that. And then just mix that all together till they're coated. The apples are all coated very nicely. Okay, and you don't want to overdo it because again, you don't want to break up your apples. Okay, you're also going to be putting in 1/4 of a cup of applesauce. Let me get that 1/4 of a cup. And then again, just combine, toss these in with either your spatula or a spoon. Okay. Now what we're going to do is we're going to put the dry into the apples, into the wet mixture. And you just want to make sure that you're mixing them well and that it's really even and combined. And I'm just doing a little at a time. And again, I'm trying not to over mix it and also not trying to break up my apples. Okay. And this doesn't take very long, but you do want to keep moving them so that all the dry gets mixed in. So it's really what you're doing is you're making a batter with your apples. Okay, and I'll show you what that looks like. Just let me, okay, so it'll look like this. Alrighty, and you're going to need a 9-inch pan and heavily spray it with your cooking spray, and then just take your apples and the batter out of your bowl. And then just start pushing it down into your pan as evenly as you possibly can. Let me get the rest of this batter out of here. We'll set that aside. And I think with a knife, I'm going to just spread these apples evenly into this 9-inch pan. get to the edges here a little bit with the batter, because you want it as even as possible. Okay, so it'll look like this. Alrighty, now we're going to make our topping. So what you're going to be needing is brown sugar. So you're going to have a 1/4 cup of brown sugar. You're also going to put in a tablespoon of all-purpose flour. That's 1 tablespoon. You're going to put 1 tablespoon of whole wheat flour into that. We're going to put 1 teaspoon of cinnamon. Now, if you don't like that much cinnamon, break it down to a 1/2 teaspoon. And then we're also going to be putting in 1 tablespoon of butter that I've had at room temperature. And then I'm just going to, with a fork, I'm just going to cut the butter in here with my fork till it becomes crumbly for the top. Now, you can put nuts in this if you want. You can put a 1/4 cup of chopped nuts, whatever type of nut that you want, walnuts, pecans, whatever, into your topping. And you can also put a 1/2 cup of nuts in the batter if you prefer. I'm not using nuts in this recipe because the person I'm making it for cannot eat them, so I'm leaving them out. Okay, now once you do that and your mixture becomes quite crumbly, all right, that looks pretty good. All right, then with my clean hands, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to mix this just a little bit better here with my hands. Okay, and then just start sprinkling it as evenly as possible over the top. You will have enough. You won't run out. It'll have a nice topping. You'll have enough to cover all the apples. Do it as evenly as possible. Okay. I'll show you what that looks like. I'll rinse my hands very quickly here. Okay. And this is how it will look. Now you're going to put this in the oven at 350 degrees, and it's going to take you anywhere from 30 to 35 minutes. So start checking it early, because as we know, all our ovens set up so differently. But again, at 350. Now when it comes out of the oven, put it on the pan on a cooling rack, of course. And you can serve it warm. You can, serve it with ice cream, a cup of coffee, cup of tea. I want to show you, I have one that is made, and this is how it'll turn out. I went ahead and I cut it in kind of large pieces. You can cut them smaller, of course, and get more out of this recipe, but they come out just beautiful. And I don't know whether you can see it or not, but you'll be able to see the apple in there. You can smell the cinnamon and the apple when you're baking this. And it comes out just a beautiful golden brown on the bottom. And as I said, you can serve this warm, you can serve it cold. It is optional. What I did was I just took a little bit of a sugar glaze with powdered sugar and milk to the consistency, whatever you prefer. And I drizzled it over the top of the coffee cake. And that's it. We've got a pretty easy, quick recipe made with all-purpose flour and whole wheat. Give this recipe a try, and if you do and you like it, leave a comment, because I'd like to hear from you. And as always, thanks for watching Diane Lovetobake. Don't forget, please subscribe. See you again.